Hello, and welcome back to a special episode of DD Geopolitics. We usually don't stream on Mondays, but I was so excited to have Pepe finally on. So we just decided to do a random stream. I'm so excited, coming from Thailand, the one, the only Pepe Escobar, legendary geopolitical journalist. Over 3 decades covering the heartland from the stands to the straits, coining the terms NATO stand, pipeline stand, and all of the above. Pepe, I haven't spoken to you in so long, and it's so good to see you. How are you?
Well, after this presentation, goodbye. I'm going to rock and roll somewhere else, and I need to dance. In fact, it's midnight here in Southeast Asia, so I'm hitting a club after our podcast.
So good to see you, Pepe. So good to see you.
Great to see you guys. It's an enormous pleasure, especially considering this dark cloud hanging over us. It's great to talk to like-minded friends. No?
For
We
sure.
had a short show yesterday. Chris, I'm going to skip the pleasantries with you. We all know you're fine. You look great. We only did a show yesterday about the peace talks, and you are always an expert on these sorts of negotiations. You have insider info. So I wanted to get your take on the peace talks. I mean, we obviously know they fell apart due to the Americans' absolute greed, their insatiable demands, not budging. But do you have any maybe something that we don't know, or maybe something people haven't really thought about that happened behind the scenes, or your thoughts on the entire process?
Yes, Sarah, there are some very interesting details coming out from members of parliament of Iran who were actually in the room. These are the best ones. Like our friend, Professor Marandi, he was outside of the room. So people were telling him what was going on. So some of these guys, don't forget, the Iranian delegation was 71 people. So we still don't know how many, when Arakshi and Vance were actually in the same room talking face to face, we don't know how many Iranians. I would assume at least 7 or 8, because these people were, and some of them are members of the Security Council. This guy who started leaking very discreetly some stuff is a parliament member. He said that in the beginning, Arakshi and Vance, there was a certain flow. It was a relatively adult conversation. Soon, guess who barges inside the room? Dumb and Dumber, Heckle and Jekyll, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Witkoff and Kushner, with messages from Netanyahu. And after that, there was a phone call from Netanyahu to Vance. According to our member of parliament, after that, the whole thing started to derail. I think this is all of us need to know about it. And the position of Vance was terrible. But to start with, can you imagine, in the most important diplomatic day in the modern history of the United States and Iran in the past 47 years, the president of the United States was playing golf, and then at night he went to a fucking UFC, whatever, with his Secretary of State, who should have been in the room. So this means that they set Vance up. They set him on a mission impossible. Come on, the guy went to Yale Law School. How he didn't see this thing coming? It's unbelievable. They put him in the line of fire. He didn't have any autonomy. There are differences on how many calls, from 6 to 12 to Trump during the 15-hour negotiation process. And on top of it, direct interference from Netanyahu via Tweedledee and Tweedledum and the phone call. So obviously, they didn't go there to negotiate. I put this in my column is coming out in Russia, I think after our conversation, unfortunately. And basically, the Americans went there to dictate, not to negotiate. And there's an extra little bit of information that came from another source. The whole uranium enrichment kabuki was not the main thing. He actually said that, and then with Kushner and Witkoff, the Americans wanted a cut, a very large cut on the toll booth. It was about money. Bloody grifters. And this is what they are. They are a bunch of bloody grifters. Why do they send Tweedledum and Tweedledee to something so important? Because they want some money out of it. Mm-hmm. So obviously the whole thing had to collapse. And of course, the degree of unpreparedness of the American delegations, the Iranians were, wow. Can you imagine that only the nuclear dossier in the Iranians, they had a file this thick, 120 pages, with all the details underlined everywhere. So they had all the dossiers on top of their hands and in written files, all of them. The Americans arrived with 2 or 3 pages, which they probably didn't read. Somebody scribbled for them,
Or
so
AI.
they were completely unprepared and dealing with an extremely well-prepared delegation. But the most incredible thing is that in the beginning, at least there was some degree of dialogue. Okay, Vance is not a grifter. At least we don't know. And he seems to have a brain. So it was, in the beginning, it was, okay, tiny brain. But at least there was some measure of dialogue. And Arakshi is an extremely patient guy. He's very cool, measured, and patient. He listens. So obviously he was making an effort to listen to Vance. But then the whole thing completely derailed, which was expected. Our Pakistani friends, apart everything that we know about this Pakistani junta, basically this is this government is run by Field Marshal Munir, which has Trump on speed dial, and it's part of the industrial security intelligence complex in Pakistan. The people who put Imran Khan in jail, we all know. But okay, credit to them. They broke their backs to make this thing work. They work like hell. And this is what I heard from Pakistan. I was doing a podcast with Pakistanis before talking to you guys. That was very interesting. Behind the scenes, he told me a few things that he heard from the Pakistani mediators, right? They were not the architects of the whole thing. They were let's say the go-betweens. But as go-betweens, they did a great job. There is I don't know if you have seen a photo. There is the face of Dar, the Pakistani foreign minister. He's totally dejected. Mm. And we cannot see the face of Vance, but we see the face of Munir talking to Vance, like you can see that he's pissed. It's like he's saying, you come to my country and you fuck us up in the middle of all that, knowing from the beginning that you were just using us for... Who gave you the right to do this? This is what you read in Munir's face. That's very, very impressive. And that sums it all up, I would say. But they keep working 24/7. They say, look, maybe there's going to be a second round. It could be here, or maybe it could be somewhere else, maybe in Qatar. But they're still working for a second round of negotiations, even though the end, as you saw and the whole world saw, that key phrase by Vance, they decided not to accept our terms. Mm-hmm. What kind of negotiation is that? And especially with Persians. I learned the art of the deal buying carpets in Iran. It took me 20 years. It took me 20 years to get to their level and understand how they negotiate. They are the better negotiators on the planet. You cannot fool these people. You have to be prepared. And they send 3 idiots to talk to them.
Well, you mentioned the call from Benjamin Netanyahu happened during at least one during the negotiations themselves. And so did our media. Our media agrees with that account. But Benjamin Netanyahu came out today and disagreed. I have a clip, 1 second.
Yes, okay.
I spoke yesterday with Vice President J.D. Vance. He called me from his plane on the way back from Washington. He reported to me in detail, as the people of this administration do every day, on the development of the negotiations. In this case, the explosion in the negotiations, the explosion came from the American side, which was not willing to tolerate the blatant violation of the agreement to enter negotiations by Iran. Essentially, the agreement was that there would be a ceasefire and Iran would immediately open the crossings. They didn't do that. The Americans were not willing to accept it. He also conveyed to me that the central issue on the table from the perspective of President Trump and the United States is the removal of all enriched material and ensuring that there is no more enrichment in the coming years, and this could be for decades.
He says he called him after the negotiations, and I love that he added, as people do from this administration every day.
Every day.
You have to call his master's voice. Yes,
But he brought up Bab el-Mandeb as well, and the blockade of the blockade. So I want to talk about that. But what you wanted to say?
Come on, but this is a running Monty Python sketch.
Yeah.
Oh, they say they blockade them. Okay, let's blockade their blockade. And they do it seriously.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Obviously, this thing is not going to work because every decent military analyst, American, Russian, they're doing the mega list of it, all the assets that the Americans need for that to work. It's impossible. Even if they regiment everything that they have everywhere with all the special forces around the world, they still won't have enough to make it work. And of course, they're cowards because they're not blockading the Strait of Hormuz or the Persian Gulf or the maritime link between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. They'll be stationed to the right of the Gulf of Oman, almost in the Arabian Sea. That's very far away. So they're going to be blocking ships in international waters, which is totally illegal, completely illegal. And even if this is, let's say, 800 kilometers away from the Persian Gulf, the Iranians have missiles. Their mid-range missiles, 800 kilometers for them is very, very easy. And they have their hypersonics as well if they want to use them. So obviously these cowards cannot dare to enter the Persian Gulf. And very important, if they want to completely blockade it, they have to blockade the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz to the west of the Strait of Hormuz. How do they get there? They have to come via the Bab el-Mandeb. And guess what's going to happen sooner rather than later? We're going to have what some Yemenis are calling the Al-Aqsa Triangle blockade. If you look at the map, this map that you're showing, if you do it, you can do a complete triangle from Hormuz to Suez to the Bab el-Mandeb and back to Hormuz. It's a perfect triangle. So the Houthis are just waiting for the right moment to announce, yes, that's it. We're going to blockade it all over again. And then what happens? we know the precedent of the U.S. Navy vis-a-vis the Houthis. Then we're going to have round two now.
That's right.
But the thing is, guys, who the hell in the National Security Council or active Pentagon, there's nobody with balls to make a 20-second visual presentation to the president and because he doesn't need anything, proving to him that this is completely suicidal. No, nobody. This is beyond absurd. Are they that scared, or they are completely incompetent, or they are afraid of rejection? Do they have psychological problems? There's no rational explanation for that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we are. And today was fantastic. Today we have the Minister of Defense of China with all his medals. He said, look, we have very serious agreements with Iran, our partners, and nobody is going to interfere in our business. So this is the Chinese message, very polite, but very straight to the point. They are daring CENTCOM to board a Chinese ship in international waters. So I would say the whole planet now is waiting for this cliffhanger now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, let's rock and roll.
We have the news today that the USS Bush, this will be the third carrier strike group, is crossing the Strait of Gibraltar today. So that means that it could be at the Suez, unless they don't take a port in a few days, and then a 24-hour transit in the Suez. Do you think that Ansarallah waits until the Bush is inside of the Red Sea and then sort of closes that vice, or what do you think? When do you think they would?
It would be much if they do this, Sarah. This would be perfect, because they want the Bush inside the vice. They want the Bush inside the Red Sea. And then they can do anything they want with it. They can play with it, like cats playing with rats. This would be fantastic. And the Houthis are clever enough to do that, of course. And they have the means to strike anything, not to mention the Iranians. So this whole thing could come up. In fact, the post cliffhanger is, let's say one destroyer is sunk. Apparently, the U.S., according to military calculations, they would need at least 12, 13, or 14 destroyers for the whole operation. Let's say one of them is sunk by the Iranians. Very, very easy. Or even better, let's say one of the aircraft carriers is disabled. That's all it takes, It will be the graphic image all over the planet of the strategic defeat. For the moment, everybody conceptually understands that it's a strategic defeat. Then they will have the definitive image to prove it. The Iranians, we are being told that the Iranians, they gamed that over and over again, in fact, for 2 decades at least. They say, look, we have everything we need. The mini subs with torpedoes, ISR from Russia and China, not only one or the other, from both. So they have everything they need. So they're just waiting. And of course, they have been itching for this fight, the maritime, thalassocratic fight. Wow, since forever. It's exactly what they want. And once again, nobody in the Pentagon sees that. It's impossible.
Well, it's clear that the Pentagon saw it 2 decades ago, or a little bit more than that. You remember with the Millennium Games that they played.
With the Millennium, right.
And so somebody saw it, but of course that generation is long gone from there, and it's become much more politicized, the Pentagon.
Yeah, or they are on CNN. No? Yeah.
It's on Fox News, so they're not really.
Stavridis did a breakdown.
Yep.
In an interview with CNN, he did the breakdown. He was not very blunt, but basically was saying, look, we need all that. And even with that, it's not sure that we're going to accomplish anything.
Yep.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
I just wonder. Yes, so we have a blockade that's supposedly in force now. It's past 10 a.m. on the East Coast. So we have a blockade.
It's already on, technically.
It's already on technically. And most people are not maybe aware that a blockade is an act of war.
Nobody probably explained to the President of the United States that a blockade is an act of war and theoretically has to be approved by Congress. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And by the way, so we are in a similar situation at this point. This is what I just said. I was just on Jackson's show. I said that we are at the point where in the Cuban Missile Crisis, to acquiesce the sort of, to push off the hardliners and acquiesce those who were asking for some firm position, John F. Kennedy imposed the blockade on Cuba to stop the Soviet the Soviet ships from coming in with their short to medium range missiles that were nuclear capable and it probably had nuclear weapons on board. And what ended up happening was you had the crazy ones like Curtis LeMay. He said, okay, let's bomb the hell out of Cuba. Let's go to Berlin and bomb the Soviets there. But the Soviets tried to run the blockade. And that was the critical moment. Khrushchev, Kennedy, and this was not the age of Truth Social and X. We're talking about those days with telegrams going back and forth. So you have
in a different phone line.
And a different phone line, a dedicated phone line.
Would be exactly.
So you had the running, but in the end, both of them stood down. So the Soviet ships had the Soviet submarines next to them. So it was very tense. And the Americans shot over the ships. They didn't hit the ships, but they shot over them as warning. And eventually they de-escalated. The ships turned around. Eventually they had the deal of Jupiter missiles and the weapons in Cuba. But today, we're not in that situation anymore. We have a blockade enforced. And I believe, this is my perspective, I want to get your perspective, because I think China, that the defense minister and sort of the political and military elite of China coming out and saying, look, we have our deals. We're going to get our stuff out anyway. I think the Chinese are preparing to run the blockade.
Yes.
And if that happens, it's going to be a showdown between two nuclear powers, two permanent Security Council. So
in international waters, exactly.
In international waters. So I'm wondering, number one, can you think that the Russians and the Chinese might bring their navies to protect their ships and their supplies, like was done in the UK?
That's a possibility, Chris. I'm waiting for tomorrow. Now it's too late everywhere, but in China it's in the middle of the night, and in Russia it's 8:30 at night, so nothing happens. I'm waiting for tomorrow to try to get some echoes from Russia and from China. From the Chinese, there's stuff that you can read on the Chinese social media. Not you won't see it on Global Times or no, forget it. But on social media, there are a lot of very well-informed military types, retired, etc. So maybe we can say, is China maybe preparing to send? Okay, they could send a few subs and a few frigates. Let's see what happens. It's quite possible, because now their interests are directly threatened. And that's a completely different story. And they know that this blockade is against China. It's not against Iran.
No.
The blockade is essential. The blockade is against Asia. That would include not only India, but also Thailand, the Philippines, everybody who's importing energy from the Gulf, but especially China. They know that very, very well. So one thing is if you intercept a ghost Iranian tanker. Another thing, if you intercept an official Chinese tanker. It's a completely different story. And both are doing the back and forth. Some are paying the toll, some go for free, depending on the arrangement, depending on the company, the arrangement, etc. So this is why the big cliffhanger is going to be a Chinese tanker intercepted by CENTCOM. So the Chinese obviously are gaming that. They gamed that already, certainly. Let's see what they're going to do.
You and I were in Moscow just a month ago or so, and we had the GFCN podcast, and I asked you there. You made a documentary, which if you have not seen it, please check it out. You made a documentary in Iran about this various economic corridors and trade corridors, and the importance of China's investment into Iran. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding everybody about the documentary. Sarah, if you can, please put the link to the documentary, because Press TV in Iran, they are not very good at PR. So the only person on the planet who's talking about the documentary is myself. So I'm trying to get people from all over to watch the documentary. This is the first documentary in English in the world about the international North-South transportation corridor, Russia, Iran, and India. We traveled in Iran from the Caspian, from Bandar Anzali, which, by the way, was bombed by the Americans already. You saw it, right, Chris? We crossed Tehran, Isfahan. We were very close to Isfahan. This time, obviously, we didn't have time to go to the nuclear installations. Then we went all the way to Bandar Abbas in the Persian Gulf. We had clearance to tour the port and talk to the authorities in the port. Then we went to Chabahar port in Sistan, Baluchistan, which is the key port for the corridor, which, by the way, was also bombed by the Americans.
Yep.
An installation close to Chabahar was also bombed by the Americans. And all the way to the Iran-Pakistani maritime border. This is one of the key connectivity corridors of the future, the INSTC. The other one is what the Chinese call the Arctic Silk Road. The Russians call it Northern Sea Route. Very important. There was a Putin-Pezeshkian phone call yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I'm trying to get from Moscow, what was not leaked, especially. But one of the things that we already know is that they talked in detail about this corridor. What does that mean? That basically Putin said, look, our investments in the corridor, they continue. We're going to invest even more. We want the corridor to start working at the whole thing in the next, until the end of the year or next year. So this is Russian commitment for the corridor to work. Very important, because these are three BRICS together. This is a corridor that bypasses the Americans completely, a corridor that is going to deal with reals, rubles, rupees, and yuan as well. No wonder the Americans bombed 2 nodes of the corridor. Immensely important. So please, if you have a chance, all of you, our audience, watch this documentary. You won't see this anywhere else.
And we'll put it in the description as well.
Thank you, Sarah. So this corridor is also a key target of the war.
Yep.
Because don't forget, the big geoeconomic war of the 21st century is the war of economic corridors.
Mm-hmm.
So BRICS, they have 2 very important ones, not to mention the Chinese New Silk Roads. Guess what happened a few days ago? I think it was last week. One stretch of the railway from Xinjiang to Iran was bombed by the Americans.
Yes.
What else? And so this means they bombed a node of the corridor which directly links the corridor to China. Why? Because China paid for this railway. It's part of one of their middle corridors, as they call it in China. There are several. This one goes through Iran, coming from Central Asia, from Turkmenistan. It crosses the Turkmenistan-Iran border and crosses Iran all the way to Turkey. So the Americans bombed a stretch.
Yeah.
So these are the connectivity corridors that are, let's say, BRICS related. The competition is, guess what? The IMEC. Mm-hmm. And the IMEC is not India Middle East corridor. No, the IMEC is Israel Middle East Europe India corridor, with Israel in a very prominent position as a corridor of trade to Europe and to India, using the Arab neighbors, UAE and Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. This thing for the moment is dead, beyond dead. The problem is all the players involved, especially the 2 Arabs and Israel, will do everything to revive it.
Yep.
They still need to build, I think, over 1,000 kilometers of railways, because the connectivity between Israel, Haifa, and Saudi and UAE, they still have to build from scratch. But they did not give up. So this corridor is direct competitor of the other BRICS-related corridors. So this is another chapter of the war of connectivity corridors, this war. Mm-hmm. That's how the whole thing is immensely complex, because everything is interconnected, geopolitically, militarily, and geoeconomically.
Well, you're over in that corner of the world, and what can you tell us about the Strait of Malacca and what's happening in the South China Sea as well?
Mm-hmm. Did you see somebody in Singapore? I think a Singapore minister, if I remember correctly, a few days ago, he was saying that he cannot possibly agree with Iran having a toll booth in Hormuz. But there's an enormous difference. Singapore is not in the Strait of Malacca. Singapore is in the south. The Strait of Malacca, well, I've been to this part. I worked in Indonesia a lot. So I did this crossing in the 90s. On one side is Malaysia, on the other side is Indonesia. So Malaysia and Indonesia can go, we're going to start charging for the Strait of Malacca. Why not? And Singapore is going to be completely excluded. Actually happen. No. We have to laugh because this is something that could actually happen.
Yeah.
And they have been very generous, both Malaysia and Indonesia. They will have the right to do this. They'll have the right to do what Iran and Oman will do. Iran is already doing, and Oman will be. They are already discussing the modalities. Oman is going to have a cut. The Trump administration will not have a cut, and that's why they were. We want our money. We want, nope, not going to work. So this will change the whole thing. And of course, once again, did I talk to you guys about this? Everybody now knows that the Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide. And territorial waters in each side is 12 plus 12.
Correct.
So it's 24. This means the Strait of Hormuz is not international waters. It is part of it belongs to Iran and part of it belongs to Oman. Simple. And
Correct.
now they are able discussing, okay, let's make some money out of it.
Correct.
Just like the Egyptians make money out of Suez. Panama, they make money with Panama. Everybody makes money with these bottlenecks, of course. The Iranians were always too... Come on, they are so gracious, so polite. It's not in they don't go for profit. It's not the mentality, They never thought about it. They could have thought about it 4 years ago. They never did.
Yeah, you're right. Also, before we get to Sarah's question, which I think is very critical, I want to add on that Greece, which is a major maritime power, condemned Iran's move because Greece itself cannot use the 12 nautical miles because Turkey would fight it. So Greece has to do only 6 nautical miles because if it does 12, the entire Aegean becomes a Greek lake and Turkey is in the red line. They will not tolerate that.
Red line. Turkey will go there and invade.
Even though it's protected under international law and the law of the seas, they won't allow it. So that's why Greece now is angry that Iran is exercising a right that it can exercise without risking war. I thought it was funny.
Can you imagine the Aegean as a Greek sea? Wow. We'll have a war on day one if that happens.
Oh, yeah?
Well, that's where I was going next with the question. So Chris set me up perfectly, and it's for both of you because it's about this whole sort of breakdown of NATO. We see the media messaging and sort of the influencer messaging in America is like, let's get Turkey or let's get out of NATO, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like underlying that, we've discussed it on our show, and a few other people, even intelligence analysts, have said it's so Israel can attack Turkey. That also obviously has implications for Greece, not just because of geopolitical, but they're in a pretty ironclad alliance with the Israelis now. So how do you see this playing out, or do you even see it playing out?
The perverse reading of what might happen, Sarah, these outbursts by Trump that he's taking the US out of NATO. Well, first of all, because it's completely absurd. The US invented NATO, and the US runs NATO. So if the US is out of NATO, there's no NATO. NATO collapses completely. Okay, you know why? Because for the moment, Turkey is the eastern, heavily militarized flank of NATO. With Turkey out of NATO, guess who's next in Israel's list? And now they are telling it, in public. It's Turkey. So that would free Israel to attack Turkey. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying that this is the really perverse reading of some signs that are already in the public domain. It's possible. It's quite possible. Considering the mentality of the death cult, there's no question about that.
I agree with Pepe. I think that Turkey is next. They're open about this. And also the growing alliance between Greece, Cyprus, and Israel is a threat to Turkey. Instead of Greece, and of course it's my country, I'm a citizen of Greece. So I'm a citizen of both Greece and Iran. So I have so much to say about these two ancient civilizations and what they're up to.
Wow. So you are literally in the Thermopylae. Huh?
Yes. I'm the dream
One
of
of the
Alexander.
Thermopylae with Leonidas.
I'm there. Although I have to pick which side. Which side do I support?
We still don't know which side is.
I'm in the middle. Peace.
Wow.
Now listen, the major problem is Greece has put its chips with Israel on the belief that Israel will defend it against Turkey. But I don't believe that. I believe that Israel will sell Greece out.
Yes,
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Of course. When does Israel ever defend anybody?
Of course not. They are basically a killing machine. It's a completely different story.
Correct.
Tell me something, Chris. The Chinese still own the majority of Piraeus.
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
So the Chinese won't. They don't want a war involving one of their ports.
No, and they actually are very concerned about the growing militarization of Greece. Greece has become, like Turkey, on the eastern Mediterranean. Greece has become a major hub for U.S. military activity, more so than we've seen ever before since World War II and the Greek Civil War and afterwards. We're seeing now new military bases, new air bases, increase. You see that the aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, went to Greece, went to Crete.
Went to Crete, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So when you analyze Greece's positioning, of course, it's very important in the Eastern Mediterranean. It has long cultural and diplomatic and religious ties and linguistic ties with the whole region, especially our Greek Orthodox in Palestine, right? We have the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate in Jerusalem. We have Antioch. We have all of the Greek Orthodox in Lebanon, in Syria, you name it, in the region. But Greece has put its chips with Israel because Israel has been using Hasbara to say that Turkey is the main enemy, and also to say that Cyprus should be solved by military purposes, which is very dangerous. Turkey will not allow that to happen at that level. It has to be a negotiated settlement. So I fear that simultaneously they're trying to do some subterfuge to get rid of the Chinese presence in Greece slowly. They want to try to push them out so that Israel and the U.S. can have a bigger stake in Greece, not realizing that it's to the detriment of the Greek people if they do this.
But for the Chinese, Piraeus is strategic. They will never abandon it.
It's one of the most strategic.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's why the Chinese don't want to give it up and they don't want to be forced out. But imagine that even the Communist Party of Greece criticizes China as imperialist for the port of Piraeus. Think about that.
These bases, Chris, are they most of them in the mainland or in some of the islands as well?
No, a lot of them are on the coastal region. So Alexandroupoli, which is close to Turkey, also Thessaloniki, down along the coast, outside of Athens, further down south, and then in Crete. But they're also trying to push into the islands as well. They're trying to create.
So they're basically making 1,000 Sigonellas.
Yes.
Sigonella is the big NATO base in Sicily. There are 1,000 Sigonellas all across Greece. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So it's very dangerous.
Sarah, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying, wow. Because Sigonella is a very large base. It's where the Navy deploys to.
Yes, exactly. But Pepe, I want to ask you, there's been a lot of criticism about Russia and China. Why are they not coming and militarily intervening? First and foremost, they don't have a military agreement with Iran to intervene. There's no article.
And the Iranians didn't want it.
They don't want it.
I was told that in Moscow. We offered and the Iranians said no.
Yeah.
Of course, the Persians. They are very proud of their accomplishments.
For sure.
But on the other hand, the Russians are always saying, look, if you need anything, just ask. Which is what these past 3 years in Moscow, I was always getting these kind of echoes. Because there were always a lot of military or political delegations in Iran going to Moscow. And they were always saying, yes, fantastic, anything you need. But they said, no, we didn't ask anything specifically from the Russians. But these are the things that we didn't see at the time. What we are seeing now is that there was the Shahid Jeran intersection has been going on for quite a while. The Russians got the Shaheeds, they improved it, they turned it to Gerans, they are upgraded models, and they were sent back to Iran. So, and this is what we see. Can you imagine what we don't see? What we don't see is ISR, is Intel 24/7. Same with the Chinese. Same thing with the Chinese. We knew that they were integrated with the Beidou satellite system, but we didn't know how deep. Very, very deep. Now we know very, very deep. Both Russia and China, they don't advertise how they're helping Iran. Of course, they don't need to.
No.
Because these are considering both capitals as state secrets.
Yep.
It's one of their key allies, and that's it. And the whole story of why at the last minute Iran agreed to a ceasefire. Yes, it was the Chinese basically telling them, look, in terms of your extra political capital, it's a very good decision. It's risky, but you're going to show the whole world. You go over there. Everybody knows that you are very well prepared. You discuss with them, and you see what happens. We all saw what happened. It was not that the Iranians collapsed Islamabad. The Americans did. And what they said at the last minute via Vance proves that they did. They chose not to accept our conditions, our offer, or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Pepe, I couldn't agree more with that analysis. And I said the same thing. I said that Iran is always labeled as a rogue state, that they are the ones that are not diplomatic, that they are the ones that are not reasonable. In fact, they've proven 3 times, twice more, that they're the most reasonable.
They're too diplomatic.
I think it was in the New York Times. Somebody leaked to the New York Times. The American delegation was impressed with the Iranians, especially with Ghalibaf. Ghalibaf is an old fox, and he's ultra prepared. No wonder they were impressed. Can you imagine if you compare a bloody Witkoff with the Ghalibaf? It's a joke. It's a joke. Yeah. But the Chinese, the Iranians were not going to Islamabad until the last minute.
Yep.
And obviously, what we don't know about this conversation was certainly Wang Yi and Arakshi. But they were talking on the phone every day, several times a day. So Wang Yi basically, what I think it's credible, even if we don't have a quote for that. Wang Yi said, look, go and we got your back. That was the message. Otherwise, the Iranians would not risk it. And they knew all the risk, including the risk of the whole delegation being assassinated on the way in or on the way out. The Pakistanis also knew it. That's why we had those Hollywoodish escort, right?
Yeah.
But of course, because from the Chinese point of view, there are so many layers of interconnection between Beijing and Tehran. The deal, the corridors, the Belt and Road, energy infrastructure, you name it. And of course, they know that they need to get Iran's back because the war is against them.
Yep.
Which the unblockable is proving now. How are you going to define this thing?
Best blockade, the best ever.
The best blockade.
Best blockade ever. Yes. Okay, we're going to call it the best blockade ever.
Most historical. Never seen anything like it.
Let me ask you. What do you make of the state of the axis of resistance now? So many people are saying they're trying to already do a post-mortem. It's finished. It's destroyed. No. People have, since October 7th, people have said, oh, Hezbollah was destroyed. This was
there. Exactly. Yeah.
The opposite, I think, right?
Chris, you were in Lebanon. We were in Lebanon together last year.
We were in Lebanon together?
Yes, we were there. No. So when we were there in Lebanon last year, I talked to Hezbollah politicians. And this was immensely enlightening at the time because we were not seeing that at the time. They said, look, we are rebuilding. It's an enormous setback, of course. But the second and third generation and the second tier and third tier, they are as good as the old school guys. And they are proving it now. And something extra that I learned only a few days. You know those missiles that they are launching against Israel from Lebanon? They are Iranian missiles. The Iranians found a way to supply. We still don't know how. Nobody's going to leak that. They found a way to supply Hezbollah with new missiles. So, never underestimate the axis of resistance, because, come on, this is Soleimani's baby. It's not allowed out in detail for decades,
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think
now
you're
we're going
right.
to switch over before we let you go. I got to do this with both of you. This is a little bit of a tinfoil hat, maybe a little wee-woo, but Trump's war on Catholics and the Pope. I am just so fascinated and freaked out by this. So I'll take you guys through the events over the last, 12 to 18 hours. Trump attacked the Pope.
He attacked the Pope, right?
In a Truth Social post, calling him weak on crime, a liberal, open borders. You guys have all read it. Immediately following that post, he posts himself as Jesus
on Orthodox Easter of all days.
Easter, yes.
Right, and so we do know, guys, that this AI slop originally came from Nick Adams. It was posted in February, but if you go and look at the original, there's a lot of things added to it after that. Trump team added to it, like these weird, like alien angels up in the top. So people say they're demonic. Yes, yeah. I don't know, man. But Pepe was nice enough to send us his rendition.
There's Pepe. The guy on top in the middle looks like a mini ball.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And here's Pepe's. There you go.
Pepe, I love the Melania nurse. The Melania nurse is a killer. and Ghislaine praying is a killer as well.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Melania is the nurse. I love it. Oh my god!
So anyway, so then the Pope responds by saying, I do not fear President Trump or anything like that. And this is what Trump had to say today about it.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor, making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
Is me as a doctor, as a Red Cross worker. We love the Red Cross. They're great people.
Man,
what do you guys think of this? I know that we're laughing, but people are, and rightfully so, are incredibly offended. In the United States, there's kind of been a interesting assault on religions that aren't Jewish or Protestant Christianity, the American variety of Protestant Christianity. So people are taking this pretty seriously. I think you're Catholic, Pepe, right? You're from Brazil. You're from
I was born in a Catholic family, and with the Spanish Inquisition overtones. That was the family of my mom.
Wow.
My grandmother was a direct descendant of Ignacio de Loyola. So I grew up with a little bit of Spanish Inquisition at home. So I know how it works.
Right. And so now we're here, and the Pope is saying,
now we're here.
I'm not afraid of you. And what do you guys make of all of this?
Discuss this with my Italian connections, especially my Italian friends who have connections with the Vatican. They must be pissed at the Vatican. There's no question. And these elder statesmen in the Vatican, these guys are old foxes. They know everything. They can see a grifter when they identify a grifter right away.
Those guys are closer to the Don Corleone than to Donald
man. Yeah, tell me about it. Well, I need to go back to Sicily. I definitely need to go back to Sicily.
Yeah. What do you know about the relationship between the United States and the Vatican right now? I mean, we have this fake Catholic vice president.
Absolute disaster. I have not followed what Leo has been doing. I wonder if you have been following Leo.
He spoke out against the war. He called it an
He spoke against the war, at least, which is enough. Did he speak against the genocide by any chance?
Yes.
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 Okay. Well, so it's not so bad.
And he has supported Pizza Balla, who has consistently come out with pretty strong language against Israel. So he is on the radar for that.
Against Israel.
Against Christian
Zionism. Christian Zionism.
Which is from the evangelical camp, as you know.
Right. But dude, did he say anything about the killing of Orthodox Christians in Syria, for instance? I don't think so.
I don't know if he said anything specific.
For the Vatican, there's still a schism, you know.
Yeah, of course.
They don't bother. In fact.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that the sort of, it feels very Israeli influenced. It feels yucky.
Yes. For sure.
Yes. For sure.
Where do you think we go from here? Especially since, we've had, I hate to do this because, we joke about it, but this like sort of holy war concept, now it's kind of becoming even more, now that they're getting the Pope involved, it's becoming, what do you guys make of all of this?
It is a holy war from their apocalyptic point of view, Sarah. These fanatics following that crappy book with their intolerant God, a killer God, by the way, and recurring theme of we need to build the third temple, and for that we need to destroy Al-Aqsa. This is getting out of control, in fact.
Oh, yeah.
They are preparing the terrain for a false flag to destroy Al-Aqsa. And I'm sure everybody in the lands of Islam is aware of it. But how to stop it?
I want to emphasize.
Go ahead.
Pepe, I don't know if you saw, Ben Gvir was just praying at Al-Aqsa.
Yes, I saw it, yes.
This is all building up to this false flag moment. We're going to try to do something heavy at Al-Aqsa to take it over.
Yes, but who could prevent it?
Who could?
The only way to prevent it would be a devastating military victory against Israel.
Yes.
And arrest all these people, install a war crimes tribunal. That's it. But we are very, very far away from that, right?
Yeah,
That would be the only way. There are no counterpowers, especially among the neighbors. Egypt, Jordan, give me a break.
Come on.
They don't even qualify as bad jokes. They won't do anything.
And technically, Jordan is the custodian of Al-Aqsa. It's the custodian of East Jerusalem.
Yes, exactly.
And they don't do anything. Nothing.
Of course. With the little king, what do you expect?
It's horrible. It's horrible.
So we are, and when I say we, it's not only West Asia. We in the West and a lot of people in parts of the East, we are all hostages of this apocalyptic death cult.
Yes.
And we have to find a solution. But I want to go as far as inserting the adjective final, but we have to find a solution for them.
Yes.
And I had this conversation with Alistair many times. Alistair actually, in the past, he went to visit the leadership of these settlers in the West Bank. He said that these people are unredeemable in every aspect. They are immensely dangerous and armed to their teeth. 700,000 or 800,000 of them. How can you have a dialogue with these people? It's impossible.
Yeah.
There's only one military solution to get rid of them. And it's not in the horizon.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that we have to definitely, we have to keep speaking about this, and we have to keep spreading the information about it, because a lot of people are waking up slowly. You know that. A lot of people are waking up. Thankfully,
a lot of people in the West are starting to wake up now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think our work is very important. And I think on behalf of Sarah and myself, we want to thank you for coming on the program. our favorite rock and roll geopolitical analyst.
My pleasure, guys. Come on. Look, we should do a rock and roll show one of these days. You know,
we're ready
with a special rated soundtrack. You know, everything.
We're ready. We're ready
to your club in Bangkok.
Oh man!
Thank you so much, Pepe. Guys, we will put the link.
I have a listening bar. Can you believe that there is a listening bar here called Lennon's?
Whoa!
Cool, isn't it?
Absolutely. We got to meet there.
You're gonna meet there. Thank you, guys. You're the best.
We will talk soon. And guys, we'll put the link in the description and it's in the comments. And guys, watch his documentary. I'm going to watch it after this stream.
It's a great documentary. Thank you. Thank you for all the work.
Thanks, Chris. You watch. Sarah, watch it. It's quite something because it shows people what Iran actually does in practice. Yeah. And of course, there are beautiful shots of the country itself. You see how beautiful the country is. Most people in the West have no clue.
Yeah, it's true. I hope to see you in Moscow soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care, Pepe.
Okay, so I mean, I don't have anything else. I'm still freaked out about the Trump as Jesus thing. So I think I'm going to marinate on that for a while. But if you guys want to, we're going to leave you with some more nightmare fuel for our outro. But if you have anything else, Chris, let it rip.
No, listen, I just want to thank you all so much, as always, for supporting the channel. Please definitely watch Pepe's documentary. It's one of a kind. And thanks to Press TV and
Super chats.
Yes, nice. We got super chats.
Great intro, as always. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Loki, for joining. Pepe is so sharp. I know, he looks great. He looks like he lost weight. I haven't seen him in a long time. What's the deal with Indonesia agreeing? I don't think that's done yet.
It's not done yet. It's happening. Actually, the Indonesian leader is here in Moscow for talks with President Putin. So we'll see what happens. The defense minister is meeting with Vance. The leader is here in Moscow. So we'll see.
I hate this so much. I hate it. I hate it all. We will be off tomorrow. Chris, or you might be streaming. Who knows what he does?
Yes, I'll be streaming tomorrow.
Yeah. And Wednesday, we will be back with our one and only Professor Morandi to give you an update on the blockade, and how things are going inside of Iran.
And a post-mortem on Islamabad.
Post-mortem on Islamabad, yes. And we will leave you with this incredible, very popular American pastor. This is following the kidnapping of Maduro. And I thought it apropos because our show was called Blessed Be the Oil, because Trump might get oil. So anyway, we will see you guys on Wednesday. And
take care, everybody.
They say you have seized Venezuela for the oil. Yes, this is true, that there is that which has been brought to the forefront of this earthly battle. But the enemy has sought and was seeking to bring war and to bring conflict through Venezuela and to control the oil of the earth. But the spiritual oil and the natural oil does not belong to the forces of darkness or to those who thought that they could bring a one world order. This is my reset. And the oil of the natural and the oil of the spirit is mine, says the Lord. Therefore I have said, I will shake the earth, that the gold and silver is mine, and you will see through the natural oil that gold and silver, and there will be a flow not only of oil in the earth that will cause the pressure and cause that which has suppressed the people of nations. I will lift it through the oil of the natural, but this is the work of the oil of my spirit, says the living God, that is destroying yokes and undoing heavy burdens through the oil of my spirit. And it will be seen in the signs of the natural oil and its refinement.